Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
We're shuffling around here this morning in the studio a little bit late, so Pat George loves to make fun of me when that happens. But with all, in all fairness, Michelle's a little slow getting out of the studio. I love her, but she pokes along, and we're having to cram a couple guests here into the show. And it's like, come on, girl, you can't fit very easy.
I didn't want to be rude, you know.
You can't fit two side-by-side bodies in the studio. That's the problem, right?
Well, it's a small studio for 3 people, but let me get the phone.
That's probably Michelle. I'm not throwing her under the bus. I'm just saying, I love her. So, man, we got a good show lined up for you guys this morning, and I'm curious to know, and the phones may or may not blow up on this one, Pat, but how many of you out there like Zillow, and how many of you out there rely on Zillow for information, and how many of you feel like your Zestimate, which is your online automated estimate, how many of you think that number is accurate? And I'd be just curious to know from some Zillow users, if you want to call in this morning and chat about it. Our on-air number is 888-404-1010, 888-404-1010. And so we got a good show lined up. I'm going to talk about Zillow and some other stuff here. Hold on a second. All right. Anyhow, so without further ado, let me introduce our guest today. And one of them I've known for a long time. The other one is a show partner. We're happy to have him. We love to work with him. He works with many of our clients. You can correct me on your name because I know you as Danielle Evans, so it's really hard for me to introduce you as anything else.
You can refer to me as Danielle Evans.
With Gateway Appraisal. So she tells me she's changing her name because I looked on Facebook and I noticed that her name is different. And I'm like, did you change your name? And I'm going to have to remember this like right before we go live? That's lovely.
Eventually it will change, but now...
So it's still Evans?
It's still Evans right now.
Okay. See, I got this right. So, anyhow, we've got some fun stuff to talk about on your end. This kind of all popped together from some stuff that was blowing up Twitter yesterday regarding appraisals and the FTC and all kinds of fun stuff, which, by the way, I did reach out to the media contact at the FTC. It was late yesterday. They're probably 1 foot out the door at 4:45, so I missed them. But they were certainly invited to chime in on the show. And then Tommy Castellano, welcome back.
Thank you, Katrina.
You have been here before with us, and
yes.
he's a partner. He was at our client event. He's worked with several of our clients, and he helps support Tampa Home Talk and keep us on the air here every week. So thank you, Tommy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Sarah Cricky is also one of our partners with the mortgage firm, and she is on the phone. And we're going to have her chime in a little bit as well with regard to some of this topic and conversation that we're going to have with Danielle Evans. So, and I pulled a whole lot of research, and there's something I've been dying to talk about because it actually happened a couple months back, but I haven't brought it up on the show. So I'm going to talk about it today. But we'll start with you, Danielle, and we'll start with the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. And so the Federal Trade Commission, you know, they are basically there to work to promote competition and protect and educate consumers. That's their job, the FTC.
It sure is.
So yesterday, Twitter was blowing up a little bit, right? With some stuff going on with some appraisers in Louisiana, which you believe may spill over not only into Florida, but nationwide, right?
I do believe that it's going to flood nationwide eventually, but Louisiana is really the only state that has protected their appraisers and has implemented change in reasonable and customary fees. So they're being targeted because they're basically the only ones right now that are implementing change, and it's the backfires on them.
Okay, so you might be listening to her going, what the heck is she talking about? And I'm going to explain real quick. If you may or may not recall that, you know, after the housing collapse, there was a lot of change with regulation. You may have heard the word or the name Dodd-Frank. A lot of people are very familiar with that. And Dodd-Frank was the 2010 Wall Street Reform Consumer Protection Act, right? And so they changed what we knew as the HUD-1 settlement statements, which is where you get all your final figures and fees. And it's now a closing disclosure, which is kind of funny because title is the one that has to balance all those numbers. So they created what they call an ALTA, which kind of looks like a HUD, and that's basically how they get their numbers to balance. But the idea is the numbers are not going to change right before closing. So that part of it, I think, is good. But there was a lot of other changes with regards to that Reform Act that I feel like was not so good. And so one of those things is exactly what you're talking about. So what they did was they brought in what they call AMCs, or appraisal management companies. And the appraisal management companies were there to basically oversee, regulate, and be sort of like a compliance checks and balance against the appraisers to make sure they're not getting paid off, or it's not like the good old boy club to hit a certain number, right?
Originally, they were supposed to be a middleman to stop any kind of pressure, persuasion. They were there and put in place with good intent, but as soon as people started making money off appraisers, all good intent was thrown out the window and greed took over.
So, and Sarah Cricky, she's here with us too, so she may chime in on this as well. But the idea, and here's the thing, and there was a lot of misunderstanding around what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. But like, for example, if an appraisal gets ordered and Sarah Cricky is the lender on the file, she's not going to be allowed to communicate with you directly on that file or on that appraisal report. And that's because that's considered part of the conflict of interest that they were changing.
Basically, yes. But if you really dig deep into the laws, it's been unraveled and things have been removed, but the appraisal management companies are here to stay, and they're doing whatever they want. They're regulated, but very, very, very little.
So here's the problem, and here's why we invited Danielle on the show today. Originally, these fees were not so high, and I know that Sarah can talk about that as well, and every lender is a little bit different, but the reason why the FTC is stepping in, because they're saying some of these appraisals are like $750 and appraisers are charging too much, when in reality that's not the fact.
That is not the fact.
The appraisal management company in some cases are taking 50% or more.
It definitely 50% or more. One thing that the appraisers have to sign, we get what's called an engagement letter. That is how we determine our scope of work, accept the order, and start the ball rolling. Within that engagement letter, the client will tell the appraiser, you are not allowed to speak at all with the homeowner, the consumer, whoever's paid for the appraisal. We are not allowed by any means to discuss what fee we collect, what fee we are paid. I'll show up at a door and the first thing we get is, you should be on a beach somewhere for the amount of money you make. I have no idea how much the homeowner just paid.
And your contract with them, you're not even allowed to discuss it.
I'm not even allowed to discuss it. I have to keep my mouth shut and just try to get through the appointment as best as possible, knowing that I'm taking all the blame. And if I open my mouth, I will lose the client. I won't work anymore. And in essence, I will lose my job.
Right.
And so there's a definite, the FTC is, I'm glad that this has happened in a way because they're giving us a platform to discuss it. If there was a poll done, the consumers have absolutely no idea where their appraisal fee is going. It's not about how much it's being charged and who is getting it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm really about less government oversight and, and not less government regulation, because I think the more they get involved, the harder it is, the more complex it is, and the more expensive it gets.
And because the appraisals have become so much bigger. Right. These appraisals are no longer 5, 10, 12 pages with some photos.
And they
they're
used
now
to be
books.
$300-$400. Now they're $500, $600, $700, $800. And as a matter of fact, Sarah Cricky, I don't know if you're able to chime in, but I just want her to talk about this real quick. She was telling me that, and there was an appraisal, and I think this is like, if you're not familiar with it, this might be like, whoa, that's unjust. How can that happen? But she was telling me how another appraiser that she was chatting with, actually $1,200 for one appraisal report.
Definitely.
Sarah.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tune in on that? Because this is very timely, right? The FTC is coming in saying appraisers are charging too much. But what was the detail behind, an appraiser charging, or an appraisal fee being $1,200?
I mean, that was not even related to an increase in what are standard fees charged. Every appraisal management company is different. They negotiate what they're going to pay an appraiser differently from one company to the next. That scenario was a completely different scenario, and it had more to do with turn times, the need to get the report quickly,
and the size of the house. Right? It was a really big house.
Of the house. So what that scenario involved was, in my experience from the lending side, our turn times have gotten worse with respect to getting reports back in a timely manner because the appraisers on our rosters are just busy. They're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They're a lot of times getting more orders than they can accommodate in a timely manner.
And we're going to talk about that too, Sarah. Hold that thought because we have to take a break here in a moment. But the regulation for appraisers has also changed. And we'll talk about that when we come back after the break. Like what they want from appraisers is going to squeeze a lot of them out. And we'll discuss that right after the break. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. If you want to tune in or chime in for this segment, feel free to call 888-404-1010. We'll be talking about Zillow and Zestiments in the second or third segment, depending on when we get to it. Back in a minute.
Listen up, Tampa. This is national best-selling author Chris Hogan, and I'm excited to announce that the Smart Money Tour featuring youth and money expert Anthony O'Neill and I are headed your way on September 19th. At this evening event, we will walk you through the plan that has helped millions get out of debt and retire with dignity. A plan that focuses your money on what matters most. It's time to live more and worry less. Visit DaveRamsey.com. That's DaveRamsey.com or call 888-22-PEACE to reserve your Smart Money seats today.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local, family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888, 712-8888, or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com, thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
I'm Katrina Madewell with Keller Williams Realty and Tampa Home Talk, and for more than 23 years, we have been helping homeowners sell. Flexible terms with the rate to sell it yourself. Let my results speak.
They were able to get us a full price offer and a contract in our house in 9 days.
I just wanted to express my gratitude in finding a cash buyer for my property in less than 24 hours.
I'm not bragging. I'm applying for a job. I want to be your realtor. Call 813-777-1196. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Money Talk, 1010 on the AM dial, 103.1 on the FM dial, and 99.5 FM HD2. HD radio is an additional way to listen on the FM dial. Check your owner's manual. You may have an HD capable radio and not even know it. Hear Money Talk on 1010 AM, 103.1 FM, and 99.5 FM HD2. Check out your owner's manual. It's not satellite radio, it's HD radio. If you got it, try us at 99.5 HD2.
Right on time, and this is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Welcome back to the show. And in the studio today, we have Danielle Evans with Gateway Appraisals, and we also have Tommy Castellano with Castellano Air. And interesting conversation, the beginning part of it. So your belief with this whole thing coming up, and you can just Google it, FTC challenges Louisiana Real Estate Appraiser Board regulations that restrict competition. And see what their take is on it. And we may invite a media contact from the FTC as well on a future show to talk about it even for a moment. So the big issue that you have with this, and the reason why you and some appraisers want to have your voice heard in Tallahassee, is because you feel like they're going to be pushing towards an automated valuation type model?
They're pushing towards something. We don't know. They could change it to an AVM, a BPO, broker price opinion.
We got to talk about what that is, because most people don't know. So BPO is in fact broker price opinion, and it's sort of like a that was right on time, Pat. It's sort of like a pencil search for. It's not even a real appraisal. I don't want to take anything away because real estate agents can do BPOs as well. We just can't charge an appraisal fee. And we can do appraisals too.
My personal opinion is that a real estate appraiser is not a broker, and they shouldn't be giving an opinion on a broker price opinion. We're appraisers.
Right.
We complete appraisals. And there was a time when appraisers were doing BPOs because there was nothing else out there to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were being paid $35 for a BPO versus $350 for an appraisal. This was a fact in the housing crisis that we dealt with.
Let's talk about the difference in that, because a $35 BPO compared to a $350 appraisal is totally different.
I never left the desk. I never saw the home. I never saw the market area. I would be technically appraising on a BPO, and I was young in the industry, and thankfully my mentor said, this is not the work we're going to do. I did do a few of them just to see what they were. I never left the desk, and they were glorified lookups. There was no adjustments made at all. And how can you appraise a property without making an adjustment from one difference to the other?
And why does it matter so much? Like, why is it so important to have an appraiser actually in the property to check it out versus they have drive-by appraisals too, right?
You can, and I just know this for fact, 14 years of experience inside people's most intimate spaces.
And you do a lot of appraisals.
You never know what you're going to find. I have been in $1 million mansions that are hoarder situations. The Playboy Penthouse mansion, I can guarantee you, had a dated aspect to it. It just because it sold very, very well, it had a stigma on it. It was a really outdated piece of residence, and if an appraiser hadn't gone inside of it, they wouldn't be able to value it correctly.
Right.
The same thing here. It doesn't have to be unique just to need to be inside of it. Yeah. You can be in a gated community, and the people still have the potential to cause severe deferred maintenance by not taking care of their home. And you so can't check permits and say, well, they maintenance their home just because permits say they did.
Well, deferred maintenance is a big deal, and it's a term kind of loosely used in the real estate world, but really deferred maintenance refers to, like, if you have a roof repair you've been putting off, or you have like gutters that were needed and it's trenching the bottom near the house, or you have some wood rot near the roof where water just has seeped in over time and you've never replaced that or changed it or painted it. That's an idea of deferred maintenance.
If you look at FHA's newest handbook, they have placed upon the appraiser to make sure that everything has a 2-year life expectancy. So if we go out there and it has anything less than 2 years of life expectancy, we are calling for it to be repaired. This is a major fact, and there was a reason for it. If they need a new roof, they are missing their mortgage payment. If they just want to rehab their kitchen to make it prettier, they're not going to miss a mortgage payment because of the deficiency. If the roof is leaking, or if it's going to leak in the near future, it needs to be replaced. These are low-income loans, and it's up to the appraiser to assess risk and to give you the market value. I think that a lot is lost in the appraisal these days because they're only looking at the value at the bottom, and they're not looking at the 40 pages that we're required to now submit. Yeah. And we're putting a lot of work into these appraisals, and they're not even read. There's a computer system reading them, telling us what sentences we've left out. And most of them are sentences about bracketing and senseless. Yeah. Today, when I first started, 3 comps was the normal. Today, my appraisals can have upwards to 9 comps in them. Yeah. And it's to further support my estimated value to combat CU underwriting.
Well, appraisers are under a lot more scrutiny compared to where they were like several years ago. So now you guys are really on the hook. Like if the bank has to buy that property back and that valuation is way off, they're coming after you guys.
And we have an insurance plan that it's just, we're baited and we're just on the hook. So and it's for life.
And what are some of the requirements to be an appraiser have gotten kind of ridiculous too? Like they've gotten,
when I got into it, you could be a high school, as long as you had a high school diploma and you took the classes and the requirements and you learned it.
But you also had to shadow an appraiser for a long time.
Today, it's totally different. You need close to 6 years of education before you will ever work on your own or be able to be tested for a certified. You have to have a bachelor's degree. It's just to get into the trainee school. Yeah. Then you have a 100-hour trainee school, which can take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to a year. It's online and it's very slow. It depends on the person taking it, how fast you can get it done.
Yeah,
and then you need 2,500 hours, which is equivalent to 2 years mentoring under a certified that can't afford to pay you a salary.
And this is why we believe a lot of the appraisers will be squeezed out, because the average appraiser...
Or obsolete.
Yeah, they're going to make, what, maybe $30,000 a year, and they want a bachelor's degree and all this other stuff?
They will not make a decent income until they're 5 years into certified. 3 to 5 years as a certified is when you'll start seeing clients coming your way and you'll get orders on your own. Anything prior to that, you're working under your mentor still, and you don't even have the ability to go off on your own because you can't pay the bills.
Yeah. It's and here's the thing, and here's where I think the FTC should keep their focus is once Frank Dodd went into place in 2010, the appraiser fees went up because now you have the appraisal management companies in there, and the amount the appraisers got went down.
Here's the thing. Before Dodd-Frank, I was making $390 in appraisal. On July 1st, we all lost our jobs, lost our houses, lost our families. We lost everything. We have been through it all and still stayed in it. Sometimes I wonder why. Today, I do not make $390 an appraisal. I make less than that.
That number's less, but yet the fees are higher.
But the
Even
consumer is paying.
We know the consumer
the consumer is paying more, and I do have to watch what I say because I am contracted with a lot of big major companies.
Here's the thing: they regulated title insurance a while back to where what they call promulgated. So they have a certain amount by law. Title insurance is set; it can't be more than that, and so it's pretty much kept everything fair and balanced, and kept companies from gouging. And I feel like they should cap, and they did this recently in Florida. They had to put a cap on estoppel fees, which is for like HOAs and condos, how much they're able to charge to find out, the fees, the budget information, if there's any arrearage, all that kind of stuff. They just put a cap on it because those numbers were getting ridiculous. And I think they should do the same thing with the AMCs. I think they should be capped at 10% of whatever the fee is.
Capping the appraiser is going to cause that unique structure to never get appraised. There are homes out there that truly do cost $1,200 to appraise them because they take you a week and a half to complete them.
Right.
And in a week and a half, I can do 20 appraisals. And so I am losing money by taking that job on. Unique and custom built properties, those do deserve to be charged that high.
Right.
But when you have an appraisal management company and they're taking $600 and the appraiser taking $600.
The appraiser's doing more work, so they should be paid more.
And here's another thing. Appraisal management companies can charge any amount that they want. Now, we have plenty of companies out there like Ellie Mae Compass, Appraisal Port. They're just a portal. They charge, the appraiser pays the fee, and we actually pay an upload fee of anywhere from $10 to $25 just to submit our appraisal onto this portal. But here's the thing. There's no AMC. There's nobody else taking any money. The appraisal fee comes directly to us, and if it's contracted for $425, we know we're willing to pay that upload fee.
As much as I don't like government being in the middle of it, I think they would be better off wiping out appraisal management companies, charging 10% on every appraisal.
I agree.
And then that goes to a third-party independent agency that the FTC could regulate, and they can randomly pull and audit any appraisal report. It's about that time already, Pat, or is the music early? It's a little early. Is there some major traffic going on I don't know about? Okay. That's what it sounded like. Well, welcome to Tampa Home Talk. This is a live morning radio show. In case you didn't figure that out, we have Sarah Cricky joining us today by phone with the mortgage firm, Danielle Evans with Gateway Appraisals, and Tommy Castellano with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. And we'll be back in a minute. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about Zillow. Doesn't that sound like fun? You guys are going to like our Zillow conversation when we come back. Stick around if you got a question. We'll be here at 888-404-1010. 888-404-1010. Back in a minute.
Well, your traffic is next on Money Talk 1010 and 103.1 FM. Still working the accident southbound on 275. right around Bush Boulevard. But first, we got to ask you, if someone else's dog bit you and caused serious injury, call the trial attorneys at Pop and Gipe, a personal injury law firm, 727-461-HELP, 727-461-4357, or log on to popandgipe.com. Hillsborough and the Veterans still working a crash there. And northbound on 301, right around the Selman Expressway, still blocking a lane from an accident. Causeway Boulevard and 50th Street, Pinellas County, still really quiet for this Friday morning. And this report sponsored by Lowe's. Stop by Lowe's for great deals like Miracle Grow Garden Soil. 2 for $12. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Offer valid now through the 5th. While supplies last, U.S. only. That means Alaska and Hawaii are out. 60% chance of rain today.
Here we are at the all-new Fusillo Nissan. Hola, Gloria. Oh, my God. Gloria, I'll tell you something. I'm excited about June. This promotion, they've never done anything like it ever in the Tampa market. We're talking about our Nissan store. And, you know, Nissan being as hot as it is right now, when you talk, folks, listen to this. This has never been done. It'll never be done again. You're going to come in to get your new Nissan, whether you lease or buy it, and we're going to discount the car, number one. Then we're going to give you the factory rebate. Maybe it's $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it is from the factory. We're going to give you that. And then we're going to give you out of our pockets, only Fusillo Nissan is going to give you a matching cash down. Folks, if you put down $500, we're going to give you $500. If you put down $1,000, we're going to give you $1,000. Folks, so when you come into Fusillo Nissan, Gloria, they can buy a car here less than they can buy at any other Nissan store in the state of Florida.
And the payments are going to be very low.
They're very low.
Wow,
Gloria.
that's awesome.
They're like, you blink and you miss them.
Come visit us.
It's going to be huge, Tampa, huge.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, a family-owned business that has been part of our community for over 55 years. Jeff Italiano personally makes sure their customer service is at the highest level. If you have issues with a claim, a question about coverage, you're not waiting on hold for hours just to get pushed to another agent. Informed representatives will answer the phone and talk you through your specific needs. So if you want old-fashioned, real and customer service, call Italiano, 813-877-7799, or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Napa know-how.
When you buy AC Pro refrigerant at Napa for $33.99, it comes with a pressure gauge, quick connect hose, and refrigerant to make just about any car cool again. Old cars, new cars, brown cars, even cars with hand crank windows. If it has 4 wheels and an air conditioner, AC Pro refrigerant for $33.99 can make your car cool. Literally. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 6/30/17.
My son Aiden has asthma. Secondhand smoke has triggered his asthma so badly, he ended up in the emergency room and spent multiple nights in intensive care. Now he's on a whole bunch of medications. My tip to you is, don't be shy about telling people not to smoke around your kids.
Half of U.S. kids are exposed to secondhand smoke. If you or someone you know wants help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Thanks for joining us on Money Talk at 1010 AM, 103.1 FM, and 99.5 FM HD2. This is Station Manager Charlie Oakes. If you have any suggestions or would like to do your own show, give me a call on my private line, 727-563-8831. Your suggestions have brought more local programming and the new FM signal. If you have an idea for a local show and would like to be part of Money Talk, call me. Money Talk is a family, and you have a vote in what the family does. Thanks for listening. 1010 AM, 103.1 FM and 99.5 FM HD2.
Welcome back. And this is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. We've had a pretty fun and exciting action-packed show this morning. So getting into the third segment before we run out of time, because I think this is going to be the highlight of the show. Not that appraisals is not fun and air conditioning is not fun, but talking about Zillow, right? Because it's like the... It's the site that got a lot of attention. It took off. You know, consumers like it because there's a lot of information. But the problem with Zillow is the hodgepodge of information. It's not always accurate. So if you're somebody like me, you know, you wouldn't know that I've got those calls from sellers saying, Zillow's reporting my home as a foreclosure. I'm not a foreclosure. I'm a regular sale. What's going on? They freak out, you know. And thank goodness I've got contacts in good places because the average agent, I can't imagine how long it would take them to unwind that.
Yeah. My own mother, legitimately, my own mother, we were putting her house up for sale, and she said, but Zillow said 165. And I said, okay. I said, go ahead and list it. It closed for 147. And it didn't need to spend 3 months on the market. It could have sold immediately had she listed it properly. But even my mother is skeptical of, they want to believe it's true.
So here's the news story, and I couldn't wait to bring this to you. And you may have already seen it because it's been out there for a little while, but it's pretty timely this week for our show because our shows are pretty much planned in advance, like what we're going to talk about and who we're going to have on. But the CEO of Zillow, Spencer Raskoff, he sold his home for 40% less than his Zestimate. 40% less. So, and it's interesting because, Zillow commented on this. And so I highlighted some of their comments and some of the things that I want to read. And one of them is agents can demonstrate that Zestimate shortcomings by showing the discrepancy between the sale price of homes formerly owned by Zillow CEO Spencer Raskoff and his estimates. So, and this is like been the great debate and the fight. You go in to meet a seller and you give them an estimate on what their home is worth. You show them comps, you show them data, and they're like, but Zillow says my home is worth. So this news article that was actually put in by Inman, they produce a lot of news in the real estate industry, was pretty right on time. And so, basically on February 29th, he sold his home in Seattle for $1.05 million, which was 40% less than his estimate of $1.75 million. So, I mean, this is a huge, huge gap. Now, they also, as you can imagine, Zillow adjusted that pretty swiftly once it came to light in the news and that sort of stuff. But this is why it's some of the headaches for agents. And, Zillow made some comments on it, and you'll like to comment on this, I'm sure, as an appraiser, Danielle, but they said the fact that we missed that there was empirical reasons why we missed it. The great conversation that real estate agents should have with consumers, he said, citing the property's irregular lot and location on a busy road as partly responsible for Zestimate's inaccuracy. So that's
a big inaccuracy.
This is to my point on why it's so hard to do like an automated valuation when you don't have an appraiser on the streets actually looking at the property.
It's apples to oranges. You don't know which house you're going to show up to, and it's Sanford & Son, and you have a complete used car lot on the side of the house.
So it's interesting, and the good appraisers like you will listen to an agent like me when we show up and say, here's what's going on, I realize it's like in this market, there's still only a 2-month supply of homes. So we may show up and go, look, we know this is on the high side. Here's the comps we use to support the value. We had 5 offers in 2 days of it being on the market. So we know the market value's there, right? Because appraisers don't dictate the market. They don't make it. We interpret it. We're looking at past sales.
We deal in closed factual sales. A lot of times when we show up to a house, an agent hands us a stack of pending listings. There is nothing that we can do with those. Until regulation is changed, they shouldn't even be offered to an appraiser because they cannot be reconciled in the final value.
And here's the thing. I really feel like pending sales should very much be a part of your estimate.
I do too. And I do put them in my report. Right. I put them in my report whether the client likes them or not.
Just to support
to further support my opinion of value. And especially if I am checking that increasing box or the decreasing box, they belong in there.
And here's the thing that I don't get, and this is where I believe the market is right now. The market's continuously on the upswing. Prices are going up and not crazy like they were before. They're going up subtly like they should be.
Yes.
When you look at basic economics, the increase in the Tampa Bay area is 5 to 7% per year. So if you go back in time before all the craziness, and it started going up probably around 03?
Yes.
I think is when we started seeing between 03 and 04 is when we started seeing $5,000 a month.
Yeah,
increases.
We had 18% increases in month over month activity that was just insanely too high for the economy that we had living here. There were no jobs here then to support those $500,000 McMansions.
But and here's the thing, here's to my point. So you go back to 03 and you look at basic economics, forget about the fact that you're an appraiser, a real estate agent, just forget about all of that and look at it from a general point of view. If you have $100,000 home and the average appreciation in the Tampa Bay market, no matter what, year over year has been 5 to 7%, you can take 5% on the average. This is, back in 03, it's 2017. So add 5% to that $100,000. Then you got 105, then you're adding another 100%, and do that for every year to catch you up to where you are now. And that's why I believe we're not going to be in a bubble, because we're right where we should be.
our economy is so much stronger. Our job market is stronger. We have a lot of at-home businesses. There are more self-employed people than we've ever had in this nation. And we have a lot of stay-at-home moms that they're business owners.
Yeah.
They're full-time business owners while they're being stay-at-home moms. There's the housing crisis did benefit Florida in that aspect. We went from 30-something thousand a year median income to now we're up into the 50s and close to 60s.
We also got a lot of tech companies that moved here and that helped you.
And I will say, not to get political, but what the grant money that has been offered to these large companies to come to Florida has been detrimental for our housing industry as a whole.
Yeah.
We would not be in the position that we're in today if those large companies were not employing our state.
And don't forget about the fact that we have real buyers in the market now. We have buyers that actually have to qualify to get a loan. They have to have cash infused in order to buy this property. There's no longer, hey, are you a homeless guy? You got a social security number, you can fog a mirror. Hey, you can buy a property.
Exactly.
So,
and I will say this, before the housing crisis, everybody was rich. They were all moving in, spending on credit, spending everything they had. They were fully furnishing their homes and just completely macking them out the day they moved in. Today, you go into a new construction home, they are not even putting up the crown molding for 2 years.
How much were they spending on air conditioning?
Lots of money.
We're getting to him. Poor Tommy. I'm sure he's enjoying this Zillow conversation.
I'm having a very good.
He's getting educated.
Here. I'm getting educated.
We were in a sales meeting the other day for Keller Williams, and the owner of actually several of the offices was in for that sales meeting, which is pretty rare. He's almost never there. And one of the agents in the room said, I'm getting a lot of buyers that ask me, and I've been wanting to mention this on the show for a while too, that said, well, I don't know if I want to pull the trigger now because I'm concerned there's a bubble. Like, what do I say to that? And somebody like me that's been through 3 downswings, 3 major changes in this market, and 24 years later, I can look at it and tell you for sure we're going to see a slowdown when rates go up.
You got to write it out.
We are not going to see a major drop like we did before. We're not.
I don't foresee it either. I really don't. I see a lot of the industries, like the construction industry, that are thriving. Absolutely thriving. Air conditioning companies too. That I know a lot of.
You guys probably can't keep up, can you, Tommy?
We're pretty busy right now.
Yeah, I see it in the new construction world. I mean, Pasco County is on fire right now, and we are seeing that there is a lack of servicemen in the industry to even provide to these construction workers.
Yeah. So here's the thing, if you are looking to buy and you're not paying cash, it's the perfect time to buy because the rates are probably lower than you're ever going to see in your lifetime again.
We have smarter buyers today than we've ever had before, and they are legitimately moving in pretty broke.
Hey, Pat, what was the interest rate on your first home?
Probably, well, when I bought it the first time, it was probably 7%.
And how much did you pay for that house?
$74,000.
You think you can find that today, Danielle? Probably not.
Well,
7%. I hope not.
No, 7%. But here's the thing. What year was that, Pat?
1982.
Okay.
Wow.
So in 1982, your $75,000 is not going to buy what your $75 can buy today.
Not.
So that's inflation, right?
Yes.
So the housing prices are not going to go down, not like they were before. The people that waited for the crash and bought at that time, they are going to be set. If they bought enough properties at the bottom of the market.
I'll tell you, the people that bought in 2011, 12, and 13 are cashing in today, and they're releasing those properties into the market, and they're releasing them to the first-time home buyers. It's really important that the appraisers are in those homes to make sure that they are not lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
Those homes are investor flips that have a lot of hidden secrets that an appraiser needs to be inside to see them. We cannot assess the condition of the home from behind a desk.
And here's the thing. I just don't think that is and I understand the FTC wanting to get involved, right? Going back to the earlier point in the first segment and making sure that appraisers are not gouging and that it's fair and it's competitive, but they're going after the wrong group of people.
They're definitely going after the wrong group of people. And I think just based on what they do, what their whole, premise is and why they're doing anything, they're saying that appraisers are sitting around a round table price fixing.
Right.
We are not allowed to discuss payment with anybody. We're not. If I was to tell you how much Wells Fargo just paid me to do the appraisal I did yesterday, I would lose my contract and I could be subject to fines. I am in a situation that I am not allowed to be competitive.
And they did that
with
for a reason.
the consumer. And the FTC does not understand that they're barking up the wrong tree.
Mm-hmm.
The appraiser should be able to be competitive and not competitive with the appraisal management company.
Yeah.
The consumer should be able to find their own appraiser.
They should, yes.
We are honest people.
I mean, here's the thing. I think there should be a pool of vetted appraisers, right? Because there is a reason why banks have approved lists, and there's a reason why they have blacklists for appraisers, right? And there's a reason why, and they need to get a fair valuation of the property.
The percentage of bad appraisers is so tiny
now.
Even back then, you don't see a bunch of appraisers in jail today. At most, we had 5 nationally. 5 go to federal prison. And and of those 5, a couple of them, I believe, were also agents. And we're sitting in a situation that those 5 put a stigma on our shoulders and caused this for us.
And most appraisers are good. I believe they get out there to try to do a fair, neutral
We
job.
have no reason
the
to push
consumer
value.
is the one paying for the appraisal report, and I absolutely believe they should be the one to help choose the appraisal. They shouldn't be able to have a conversation and discuss value and all that stuff, but they should be able to pick an appraiser based on credentials, time, all that sort of stuff. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. It's been a fun conversation. We're going to tell you how to get behind Danielle and help her, because her and a bunch of appraisers are going to go to Tallahassee to talk about this with the FTC, which ultimately will benefit you, the consumer. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
Join Mark Charles and Nick Alexander Thursday nights at 11:05 for the MMA Talk Show. Mark and Nick discuss the latest current events in the UFC and take your phone calls to get your take on the latest in MMA. Featuring guest appearances by the biggest stars in the UFC and the top analysts in the world of MMA.
You're in Bellator now. You're probably the biggest star they have, assuming GSP doesn't come in there and try to challenge you itself.
Did you just imply that GSP was a bigger fraud than Chael Sonnen?
UFC President Dana White.
With the Diaz fight, it broke all our records, including pay-per-views, but you want to keep the original fights together.
The Ultimate Fighter South America with coaches Chuck Liddell and Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, those guys are actually doing the Ultimate Fighter down in South America. They're both pumped to get back into it again.
Tampa Bay's business address, Money Talk 1010, takes off its tie and puts up its dukes for an hour of fisticuff radio every Thursday night at 11:05. MMA talk show highlights and interviews, free and on demand on MMAtalkshow.com.
Let's face it, having a criminal arrest record really stinks, and it hurts when others make unfair judgments about you. Employers, landlords, lenders, even the person you may want to date. Take down this number, 813-254-9205. Attorney Jim Souza has sealed and expunged arrest records for more than 20 years. Go to restoremyname.net or call 813-254-9205.
Are you looking for your next home? The truth is that most buyers want a home, not a real estate agent. I understand, but factually, you need an experienced agent on your team like me. I'm Katrina Madewell with
Keller Williams Realty,
host of Tampa Home Talk, and I've been in the real estate and mortgage industry selling homes for more than 23 years, and it would be our pleasure to help you find your next home. Love where you live, or I'll fix it. Welcome home. 813-936-2302. 813-936-2302.
There's a brand new daily hour of fun and information on Money Talk 1010. Hi, this is Mason Dixon from the morning show, not only on Q105, but now a morning show on Mason Dixon Wide Open with Charlie the Sarge Oaks. And we get crazy every day from 11 to noon on our show, talking about just about anything. I want you to check us out Monday through Friday and join us for some conversation, because it's not only what's on our mind, it's what's on your mind as well. You can put your 2 cents worth in, even if it's worth way more than that. We always keep the phone lines open, 1-888-404-1010. And no subject is out of bounds. Well, you got to keep it clean. We do family stuff here. Now, the Sarge and I are both motorheads, so we do car talk. We've got a special segment that runs in the show every day. So if you're into cars, we got it for you. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Mason Dixon, Wide Open with the Sarge.
too good for you to get me, Pat. Nice try. So what you might have saw on Facebook during the break is, we're kind of chatting it up. The mics are off, and then so our headphones are off because you can't hear each other if your headphones are on in the studio. And so Pat will just pop on the mics and see if we're noticing, and we're talking, see if I'm noticing. Anyway, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We're glad you're here, and if you want to get a real estimate on what your home is worth, you can text the word value to 813-377-2775, and we can compare that to how close your Zestimate is, which for the CEO's home was 40% less than the Zestimate, but we'll give you a real estimate on what your home is worth and a room-by-room review. Just text the word value to 813-377-2775. Again, text the word value to 813-377-2775. And so, Tommy, we've been trying to get you all show. Zillow kind of took over the whole hour here, dang near. But let's talk about some myths about AC. Since you're getting into the busy time, you're seeing more and more stuff. And there's a lot of misconception with people closing vents in unused rooms and that sort of stuff, thinking they can save energy. What happens when they close vents? How does that actually work?
Well, when you close a vent, the first thing it does is it puts undue stress on your duct system, because now the air's got to go somewhere else. So they think they're saving money, but a house has been sized for whole house air conditioning, not just one particular area when you want or need it.
And that matters a lot. We talked about that on another show.
Yeah, it matters quite a bit. So in other words, if you have an outside wall and you shut the vent in that room, now you don't have just one outside wall. Now you may have three, because each one becomes an outside wall. So you're actually increasing the load on the house, and they think they're saving money, but when they're actually not, because it puts stress on the motor. The amperage is probably going to go up a little bit, and what you're paying for is kilowatt hours.
So it can actually cost you more by closing those vents.
Right? And you're affecting the comfort and the aesthetics of the house.
Right.
So a room, you're changing the humidity levels. You're changing quite a bit. Happens when you close vents in the room.
There's a science to that whole process. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because the houses, especially the newer houses, with the energy codes and the energy calculations that you have to provide, they've been carefully sized, for air conditioning. When the outdoor temperature is 91 degrees, maintaining an indoor temperature about 78. Now, sometimes that may not be enough, but if you're closing vents, for sure it's not enough anymore.
And this is where geometry and science in school pays off in the real world, right?
A little bit.
So what are some energy efficient ways that someone can actually save money? Because we're getting into the hotter months. People are cranking down the ACs, and, Pat, George, and I were all talking about how the average bill is running about $300 in the summertime, especially if you have a pool and you're running that kind of stuff.
Right.
What are some ways to save money?
Well, if you're talking about the air conditioning equipment, should be maintained at least once a year, and usually the people don't really pay attention until it's not working. The average air conditioning system is probably the third largest purchase that a homeowner is going to make.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably the most neglected that a homeowner is going to do.
Well, it's kind of like to use an analogy, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of like saying I'm not going to get my oil changes on my car, but I'm just going to take it in whenever the lights come on.
Right.
Is that pretty fair?
Pretty much. Or when the air stops coming out of the vent, that's when they change the filters.
And you have some special deals for our Tampa Home Talk listeners for the maintenance packages, correct?
Right.
So that it doesn't get to those hefty repairs.
Right.
And
we offer a 15% discount to anybody that listens to the show.
So just mention my name, mention Katrina Madewell or Tampa Home Talk, and we're going to get you 15% off of that maintenance package or any other service, right?
Yes. And we also offer that to our military. Our military is doing a fine job, so we want to help them out a little bit too, especially if they're overseas.
Fantastic. So how much would a maintenance package cost a homeowner, and what goes into that?
Well, there's different levels. There's no such thing as really a $39.95 tune-up, because basically, by the time you take a truck, fully serviced service van, and a technician that's qualified to do the maintenance, there's no way you can do it for $39.95. So what happens is when they get on the job, they have to find something wrong. So the best thing to do is start the maintenance early, because most manufacturers, they don't tell you this, they require maintenance now. With the 10-year guarantees.
In order to cover that warranty,
in order to cover the warranty. So, but usually,
So what is the requirement? Do you know, is it 4 times a year? Is it twice a year? Is it once a year?
we recommend in Tampa 2 times a year.
Okay.
For a homeowner.
So spring and fall?
Spring and fall. And that should take care of but at least once a year. And, it doesn't really matter before or after, because a lot of things are going to happen to the inside of the equipment that should be cleaned up a little bit.
What does it cost to do a 2-time-a-year maintenance agreement?
A 2-time-a-year maintenance agreement is usually about $159
and
95 cents.
Is that prepaid or is that per trip?
Well, usually that's prepaid.
And that's for 2 trips?
For the 2 trips.
Okay.
And our biggest problem is getting to the second one, because the homeowner won't answer the phone, or they think we're going to bother them or something. But the biggest problem that we have with the second maintenance is scheduling it. And usually it's difficult because they're not home, or they take it for granted.
You got to schedule like we do our dentist appointments before we even leave. We schedule it for the next one.
Right.
And send out your little reminder postcard that they get.
Well, we send them a little postcard, and I designed the postcard myself because I was sending so many of them out. So I have a little computer that I just send a little notice and do it myself.
So, Tommy, how can somebody get you? Like, if their air is not quite working, or they want to have you check it out and make sure everything's good so that new AC stays under warranty, how can they reach you?
They can call us. Our phone number is area code 813-877-6997. Or they can call you.
Definitely. You can hit us up at Tampa Home Talk, and we'll always get you connected with Danielle or Tommy or any guests we have on the show. And again, Castellano, their off-air number for AC is 813-877-6997, 813-877-6997.
We also have a website at Castellano, or Air Castellano at AO. No,
it's not Smith. Come on, you had to make it so hard and put Castellano in there?
AirCastellano.com.
People probably can't even say that, let alone spell it.
Really? I'm going to have to do something easier.
Yeah. We'll work on that together, Tommy.
Right.
All right, so you can get Tommy again at 813-877-6997. He's one of our partners here at Tampa Home Talk. Thank you for supporting the show.
Thank you very much.
We are glad to have you, and Sarah Cricky, among many others. Danielle, great to have you as our guest.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to reach me or any of my guests, our off-air number is 813-377-2775. You can text the word value to 813-377-2775. We had a great week.
Great week.
Did y'all have fun this show?
Definitely.
Hopefully we entertained you. If you're out and about, you see me or you recognize my voice, say hello. Let me know you've listened to the show. Thanks so much for listening this week. Remember, love where you live, or we're going to fix it. Welcome home.
Yeah, she'll be the one with the boot on her foot.
And we're out. I got the boot. I broke my toe. Have a good week. Bye.
Thank you.